The Sahara, vast, silent, and endlessly shifting, has long captivated the human imagination. Stretching over 9 million square kilometers, it is often pictured as an empty expanse of golden sand, inhospitable to life and untouched by civilization. Yet beneath this seemingly barren landscape lies a story far older, deeper, and far more mysterious than most could imagine. A story of a forgotten empire that once flourished where now only dunes stretch to the horizon. It is a kingdom whose wealth, knowledge, and power rivaled that of the great civilizations of Africa, the Mediterranean, and even the Middle East, yet whose name has been almost entirely erased from history. Archaeologists, historians, and explorers have spent centuries piecing together its traces, finding evidence in scattered ruins, ancient riverbeds, ceremonial artifacts, and faint markings on stone, all hinting at a society that thrived beneath the harshest of suns and whose disappearance remains one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. Long before the Sahara became the world's largest desert, this region was a vastly different landscape. Rivers flowed freely, carving valleys that nurtured vegetation. Animals roamed the grasslands, and early humans settled along fertile domains. Pollen analysis and geological studies reveal that during the late Holocene epoch, the Sahara was not a wasteland, but a savanna dotted with lakes, forests, and grasslands capable of sustaining large populations. In this environment, communities developed agricultural practices, built settlements, and gradually formed complex social and political structures. It was here, in the midst of a lush and vibrant Sahara, that the foundations of a great kingdom were laid, one whose scope, influence, and ingenuity would astonish generations to come. While little of this kingdom survives above ground today, what remains is enough to hint at a civilization that was both organized and advanced, blending ingenuity with a profound understanding of its environment. A civilization capable of harnessing the desert's bounty rather than being conquered by it. Early explorations of the Sahara revealed tantalizing clues of human habitation that predated even the well-known empires of Egypt and Nubia. In the 19th and 20th centuries, French, British, and local explorers reported traces of ruined settlements, buried walls, and intricately carved stone artifacts. They found pottery scattered along riverbeds that had long since dried, tools made of bronze and iron, and fragments of inscriptions whose meanings are still debated by scholars today. Satellite imaging and modern surveys have further confirmed that vast networks of settlements once lined the region, connected by trade routes that spanned hundreds of kilometers. Caravans carrying gold, salt, and other precious commodities would traverse these routes, linking the Sahara's interior with the Mediterranean coast, West Africa, and even regions further south. These findings suggest a society that was not isolated, but deeply interconnected with other civilizations, exchanging goods, knowledge, and ideas in a way that made the kingdom a formidable player in ancient geopolitics. The mystery of this lost kingdom is compounded by the fact that few written records survive. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, the people of the Sahara may have relied heavily on oral traditions, storytelling, and symbolic art to transmit knowledge, leaving behind only traces of their cultural and historical narratives. Yet even these traces speak volumes. Petroglyphs etched into rocks across the desert depict human figures, animals, and geometric patterns, suggesting ceremonial and religious practices deeply intertwined with daily life. The artistic sophistication of these carvings implies a society capable of abstraction, ritual, and shared cultural memory, which are hallmarks of complex civilizations. Some scholars speculate that these rock art sites may have served as markers along trade routes, ritual centers, or even educational spaces where knowledge was passed from one generation to the next. Every line carved in stone, every symbol painted on pottery is a whisper from a people long vanished, calling out across the millennia to the understood. The kingdom's economy was likely as advanced as its art. Archaeological evidence suggests the existence of organized trade, not only for luxury items like gold and ivory, but also for essential goods such as grain, water, and livestock. Oasis settlements would have served as critical hubs, supporting the movement of caravans, providing food and shelter, and acting as administrative centers. These hubs indicate the presence of governance structures capable of managing resources, mediating disputes, and ensuring security along key trade corridors. Salt, which was once considered as valuable as gold, was mined in the heart of the Sahara and transported in massive caravans of camels. Gold from interior mines found its way to Mediterranean ports, eventually entering the coffers of empires far beyond Africa. Such trade demonstrates not only the kingdom's wealth, but also its strategic understanding of geography, logistics, and economic influence, enabling it to project power across vast distances, even in the absence of standing armies dominating neighboring regions. The people of this empire were, without a doubt, highly adaptive. Living in a region that could shift from fertile plains to arid desert over decades, they developed technologies and strategies to thrive in an unforgiving environment. Wells, irrigation systems, and storage facilities allowed communities to survive periods of drought, while fortified settlements offered protection from raiders and rival groups. Archaeologists have discovered remnants of sophisticated stone buildings, granaries, and defensive walls, suggesting a society that prioritized both security and sustainability. Even in their choice of materials, these people exhibited ingenuity, using locally available stone, clay, and organic materials to construct homes, temples, and public spaces that could withstand the harsh Saharan climate. Such evidence of planning, engineering, and architectural skill positions this kingdom among the most capable of ancient Africa, deserving recognition alongside Egypt, Kush, and other renowned civilizations. Religion and culture were central to the life of this forgotten empire. While definitive details are scarce, studies of artifacts and burial sites suggest a rich spiritual life, with rituals and ceremonies that honored ancestors, celestial bodies, and natural forces. Temples, shrines, and sacred grounds were likely focal points of community life, places where knowledge, law, and religion intersected. Some ruins reveal intricately carved altars and figurines, suggesting a pantheon of deities or ancestral spirits. The alignment of certain structures with the sun, moon, or stars implies astronomical knowledge, possibly used to track seasons for agricultural purposes or ceremonial events. Such integration of spirituality, science, and daily life reflects a society deeply aware of its environment and its place within the cosmic order, balancing material needs with intellectual and spiritual pursuits. Long before the Sahara became the sprawling, sun-scorched desert we know today, it was a land of fertility, life, and opportunity. Its vast plains were traversed by rivers that carved valleys of verdant greenery, supporting an abundance of flora and fauna. The archaeological record tells a story of early humans settling along these waterways, cultivating crops, hunting wildlife, and developing the rudiments of complex societies. Within this fertile expanse, the foundations of a great and forgotten kingdom were laid, an empire that, for reasons still shrouded in mystery, would come to dominate vast swaths of the Sahara, projecting influence far beyond its borders. The kingdom's origins remain a subject of intense study and debate among historians, archaeologists, and anthropologists who piece together fragments of evidence from ancient riverbeds, burial sites, and scattered ruins to reconstruct a civilization that has been almost entirely erased from written history. Some scholars suggest that the kingdom emerged during the late Holocene period, approximately 6,000 to 4,000 years ago, when climatic conditions were favorable, rivers flowed abundantly, and the land could sustain permanent settlements. Others propose a slightly later date, placing its rise around 3,000 years ago, coinciding with shifts in trade networks that linked sub-Saharan Africa with Mediterranean powers such as Egypt, Carthage, and Nubia. While the precise timeline is debated, there is little doubt that this kingdom achieved remarkable complexity, combining agriculture, trade, religion, and governance in ways that rivaled better-known contemporary civilizations. The people who built this empire were extraordinarily adaptive, demonstrating a capacity to harness the environment in ingenious ways. Where others saw a harsh desert, they saw rivers to irrigate fields, stone and clay to build settlements, and trade routes to connect distant regions. Archaeological surveys reveal that the kingdom's settlements were strategically positioned along former river courses and near oases, providing both water and shelter from the extremes of the desert climate. These settlements were not mere villages, but carefully planned urban centers, complete with residential districts, public spaces, religious structures, and marketplaces. Streets were organized with foresight, allowing for both daily commerce and ceremonial processions. Granaries, cisterns, and wells ensured food and water security, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of resource management and engineering. The remnants of fortifications and defensive walls indicate that the kingdom also prioritized protection, safeguarding its citizens, wealth, and trade routes from rival groups or marauding tribes. Every architectural element uncovered so far reflects not only practicality, but also cultural and aesthetic sensibilities, hinting at a civilization that valued beauty as much as function. Trade was a cornerstone of the kingdom's wealth and influence. Positioned in a transitional zone between North Africa and sub-Saharan regions, it controlled critical trade routes that connected the gold-rich lands of West Africa with the Mediterranean and Nile civilizations. Gold, salt, ivory, and exotic goods flowed through its markets, exchanged for grains, textiles, and crafted artifacts from distant lands. Archaeologists have uncovered caravan routes stretching hundreds of kilometers, lined with the remains of resting stations and small settlements designed to support traders and their animals. These routes facilitated not only economic activity, but also cultural exchange, allowing ideas, technology, and customs to circulate between diverse regions. The kingdom's wealth was legendary, rivaling that of ancient Egypt and Kush, and this economic power enabled the construction of monumental architecture, the patronage of artisans, and the maintenance of administrative structures capable of managing a vast, interconnected society. Indeed, it is through these trade networks that the kingdom left traces beyond its borders, appearing in inscriptions, oral traditions, and artifacts found in regions as far afield as the Mediterranean coast and the Western Sahel. Religion and spirituality were deeply embedded in the kingdom's daily life. Excavated temples, shrines, and ceremonial sites suggest a society with a rich pantheon, possibly blending worship of natural forces, celestial bodies, and ancestral spirits. Petroglyphs and rock carvings across the desert depict human figures in ritualistic poses, animals in symbolic contexts, and geometric patterns that may have held cosmological significance. These sites are often aligned with solar or lunar events, implying a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, likely used to determine agricultural cycles or to coordinate religious ceremonies. Such integration of science, spirituality, and daily life reflects a society that was intellectually advanced, capable of harmonizing practical knowledge with cultural and religious expression. Artifacts such as intricately carved figurines, ceremonial masks, and decorative pottery indicate that the kingdom valued artistic expression and craftsmanship, suggesting that artisans held an esteemed place within the social hierarchy. Music, dance, and oral storytelling likely played a central role in preserving cultural memory and transmitting knowledge across generations, sustaining identity even as the empire faced external and environmental pressures. Governance in the Forgotten Kingdom appears to have been centralized yet flexible. Evidence from palace ruins and administrative structures suggests the presence of a ruling elite or royal dynasty supported by bureaucrats and advisors who managed taxation, trade, and legal matters. These rulers may have exercised authority not only through force, but also through religious and cultural influence, legitimizing their power through rituals, ceremonies, and the construction of monumental buildings. Settlements across the kingdom reveal standardized architecture and consistent urban planning, indicating coordinated oversight and an administrative system capable of enforcing regulations and maintaining social order. There is also evidence of delegation of authority to local leaders or governors who managed satellite settlements and trade hubs, suggesting a networked governance structure that balanced central control with local autonomy. The combination of strong leadership, organized administration, and cultural cohesion allowed the kingdom to flourish in a challenging environment, ensuring stability and prosperity for centuries. Despite these achievements, the kingdom was not immune to environmental change. Over time, the Sahara began to dry, rivers dwindled, and fertile lands contracted. Archaeological and climatic studies indicate that periods of drought became increasingly frequent, undermining agriculture and threatening food security. These ecological pressures would have forced the population to adapt, either by developing new technologies, relocating settlements, or intensifying trade to acquire scarce resources. Concurrently, social and political pressures may have emerged, including internal disputes, succession crises, or conflicts with neighboring groups seeking control over trade routes or arable land. The combination of environmental, economic, and social stressors created a perfect storm that ultimately contributed to the kingdom's decline. Yet even in the face of these challenges, the society demonstrated resilience, maintaining cultural practices, fortifications, and trade routes for as long as possible. The traces left behind, ruins, artifacts, inscriptions, and oral traditions, offer glimpses into a civilization that was not merely surviving, but actively shaping its destiny amidst adversity. Interactions with neighboring civilizations played a critical role in the kingdom's development and influence. Evidence suggests that it maintained diplomatic and trade relations with Egypt, Nubia, and other West African states, exchanging goods, technology, and ideas. Gold from the kingdom may have reached the coffers of Mediterranean empires, while knowledge of metallurgy, agriculture, and astronomy could have diffused along these networks. These exchanges positioned the kingdom as a central hub in the complex web of ancient African and trans-Saharan civilizations, highlighting its strategic and cultural significance. The movement of peoples, goods, and ideas across vast distances illustrates a level of interconnectedness that challenges conventional perceptions of pre-modern Africa as isolated or peripheral. In fact, this kingdom exemplifies the dynamism, ingenious, and adaptability that defined many African societies long before the rise of colonial narratives and European exploration. And so, as the winds of the Sahara continue to shift the dunes and reveal traces of stone and pottery, we are reminded that beneath the surface of the desert lies a story of human achievement, ingenuity, and mystery. The origins of this forgotten empire, shaped by fertile rivers, strategic trade, religious devotion, and resilient governance, provide a window into a civilization that thrived despite environmental adversity. It is a kingdom whose influence, though obscured by time and sand, resonates across Africa and the ancient world. Through careful excavation, research, and imagination, we can begin to reconstruct its story, to envision its people, its cities, and its culture, and to appreciate the remarkable ways in which humans can adapt, thrive, and leave their mark even in the most challenging environments. This is the tale of the Sahara's hidden past, a kingdom whose origins are shrouded in mystery, but whose legacy beckons us to look deeper, think broader, and marvel at the ingenuity of civilizations that time almost forgot.
The forgotten kingdom beneath the Sahara was not merely a collection of settlements hidden amidst sand and stone. It was the heart of a vast and intricate trade network that radiated wealth and influence across Africa and into the Mediterranean. Long before the age of European explorers, caravans traversed hundreds, sometimes thousands of kilometers across shifting dunes, connecting gold mines in the interior with bustling Mediterranean ports. The kingdom's wealth was legendary, rooted in a combination of natural resources, strategic geographic positioning, and human ingenuity. Gold, a symbol of both material value and divine favor, flowed from mines deep within the Sahara and into the hands of traders who would ferry it across the desert to distant lands. Salt, equally precious in an age before refrigeration, was extracted from vast salt flats and packed onto caravans of camels that stretched like living bridges across the sands. Ivory, exotic animals, and rare spices were exchanged along these routes, creating a marketplace not only for goods, but for ideas, technologies, and cultural practices. Every coin, ingot, and artifact tells a story of commerce and connection, a testament to a civilization that understood both the value of wealth and the power of networks. The kingdom's control of trade was both strategic and sophisticated. Archaeological evidence reveals that settlements were not randomly placed, but carefully sited along natural corridors, near oases and adjacent to former riverbeds, ensuring access to water, shelter, and fertile land. These settlements functioned as hubs where merchants, artisans, and farmers gathered to exchange goods, negotiate deals, and share knowledge. Markets would have been vibrant, bustling spaces filled with color, sound, and activity. Traders shouting prices, camels kneeling under heavy loads of goods, artisans displaying finely crafted tools, jewelry, and pottery. Here, one could witness the wealth of a civilization distilled into everyday life, from the gleam of gold ornaments to the rich aroma of spices being traded across centuries. Such commerce was not merely transactional, it was a conduit for the exchange of culture, language, and religion, creating a civilization both materially prosperous and intellectually vibrant. Gold was perhaps the most significant resource fueling the kingdom's prominence. Mines deep within the Sahara produced high-quality gold, coveted by neighboring civilizations such as Egypt, Nubia, and even Mediterranean powers. These mines were not haphazard operations, but carefully organized enterprises requiring knowledge of geology, metallurgy, and labor management. Workers extracted ore, smelted it using advanced techniques, and fashioned it into coins, jewelry, and ceremonial objects. The movement of gold along caravan routes ensured that the kingdom's influence extended far beyond its borders, positioning it as a central player in intercontinental trade networks. Every shipment of gold was a statement of wealth, power, and diplomacy, reinforcing the kingdom's status among other African and Mediterranean powers and attracting alliances as well as rivalries. Salt, though often overlooked in modern imagination, was equally vital to the kingdom's economy. Extracted from vast desert flats, salt was essential not only for seasoning, but for preserving food in a time before refrigeration. Caravans loaded with salt would traverse harsh desert landscapes, a logistical feat requiring careful planning, knowledge of terrain, and disciplined coordination. Salt blocks, sometimes weighing hundreds of kilograms, were carried on camelback, with traders enduring scorching sun, violent sandstorms, and the constant threat of banditry. The value of salt equaled or even surpassed that of gold in some regions, making it a cornerstone of wealth and trade. Its movement fostered connections across Africa, linking sub-Saharan communities with Mediterranean markets and ensuring that the kingdom's economic influence permeated regions far beyond its immediate control. The kingdom's trading prowess was also evident in the movement of ivory, exotic animals, and other luxury goods. Ivory, sourced from elephants roaming the fringes of the Sahara and sub-Saharan forests, was highly prized in Egypt, Nubia, and beyond. It was carved into intricate figurines, ceremonial objects, and jewelry, symbolizing both status and spiritual power. Exotic animals, sometimes kept for ceremonial purposes or as symbols of royal authority, were also traded, representing the kingdom's reach and its ability to harness natural resources in ways that amplified wealth and influence. The trade in these items was carefully regulated, controlled by the ruling elite, and protected by organized caravans and fortified settlements. Every item that left the kingdom's borders was a reflection of its ingenuity, power, and cultural sophistication. The infrastructure supporting this trade was remarkable. Caravans were coordinated to ensure safety, efficiency, and continuity of commerce across vast desert distances. Way stations and oasis settlements provided food, water, and shelter, creating a network of safe havens for traders and travelers. Some evidence suggests the existence of rudimentary maps, guides, and even markings on rocks to indicate directions, water sources, and distances, tools that facilitated long-distance travel across challenging terrain. This infrastructure required foresight, planning, and a centralized administrative authority capable of managing logistics, mediating disputes, and ensuring security. The kingdom's ability to organize such extensive networks reflects not only economic acumen, but also the political and social cohesion necessary for sustaining a prosperous civilization in one of the world's harshest environments. Trade was intertwined with cultural exchange, creating a rich tapestry of ideas, beliefs, and technologies. Merchants and travelers carried more than goods, they carried stories, religious practices, artistic styles, and scientific knowledge.
Pottery, jewelry, and textiles often bore motifs that reflected cross-cultural influences, while oral traditions recorded accounts of distant lands and peoples. Astronomical knowledge, agricultural techniques, and metallurgical innovations may have spread along these trade routes, enriching both the kingdom and its neighbors. The Sahara, often imagined as a barrier, in reality functioned as a bridge, connecting distant regions and allowing the kingdom to participate in a globalized ancient economy. Its influence reached far beyond the desert, shaping civilizations that would rise and fall around it, leaving an indelible mark on African history. The traces left by the kingdom's trade are scattered across the desert, waiting to be uncovered by archaeologists and historians. Excavations reveal remnants of marketplaces, caravanserai, and warehouses. Artifacts from gold ornaments to intricately carved ivory attest to the kingdom's material prosperity. Even subtle traces, such as the alignment of settlements with former riverbeds or the presence of imported goods in distant regions, demonstrate the kingdom's centrality to a sprawling network of commerce. Through careful study, we begin to understand the sheer scale of economic activity, the sophistication of trade management, and the cultural impact of these exchanges, all of which contribute to a portrait of a civilization whose wealth was matched only by its ingenuity. Beyond material wealth, trade reinforced the kingdom's political and social structures. Control of commerce allowed rulers to consolidate power, fund monumental architecture, support a class of artisans and scholars, and maintain military forces capable of defending the realm and its trade routes. Diplomatic relations with neighboring kingdoms were often tied to trade, with alliances secured through the exchange of goods, marriage, or political negotiation. Rival groups, aware of the kingdom's riches, sought to assert influence or seize control, necessitating both strategic defense and agile governance. This delicate balance of trade, diplomacy, and security required foresight, intelligence, and resilience, all of which the kingdom demonstrated with remarkable skill for centuries. The Sahara's forgotten kingdom exemplifies the interplay between environment, human ingenuity, and economic power. Its prosperity was not accidental. It was the product of strategic positioning, sophisticated knowledge of geography, mastery of resources, and social cohesion. Every caravan that crossed the desert, every market that buzzed with activity, every mine that yielded precious metals was a testament to a civilization capable of thriving in a region often perceived as inhospitable. Its wealth fueled not only material achievements, but also cultural, religious, and intellectual development, laying the foundations for a society that was both complex and resilient. And yet, as with all great civilizations, this prosperity was fragile. Environmental change, shifting trade routes, social upheaval, and external pressures would eventually challenge the kingdom's dominance. Droughts, desertification, and resource scarcity strained the economic system, while political tensions and conflicts tested the cohesion of the society. Despite these challenges, the kingdom endured for centuries, leaving behind an enduring legacy of wealth, ingenuity, and connectivity. Its story, hidden beneath the sands, reminds us that even in the harshest landscapes, human civilizations can flourish, create, and leave marks that echo through time. The traces left by the kingdom's trade are more than historical curiosities. They are windows into the lives of the people who shaped it. Picture merchants negotiating deals under the blazing sun, camels kneeling under the weight of gold and salt, artisans crafting delicate jewelry, and scribes recording transactions in symbolic scripts. Imagine bustling markets filled with the scent of spices, the sounds of haggling, the laughter of children, and the rhythms of music accompanying daily life. These are not abstract ideas, they are glimpses into a civilization that, although almost forgotten, lived, breathed, and prospered in a land now defined by its silence and emptiness. As we trace the roots of ancient caravans, examine the remnants of settlements, and uncover the artifacts of a civilization long buried beneath sand and stone, we begin to understand the kingdom's true scale and significance. It was a society of vision, strategy, and resilience, capable of transforming a challenging environment into a center of wealth, culture.
The forgotten kingdom beneath the Sahara was not only a hub of trade, religion, and culture, but also a formidable military power, strategically adapted to the harsh desert environment and capable of defending its wealth, people, and influence across centuries. Though often imagined as a passive oasis civilization, the kingdom's survival and prosperity depended heavily on its military organization, defensive architecture, and tactical ingenuity. Fortifications, city walls, watchtowers, and strategically placed garrisons reveal a society deeply attuned to the threats posed by rival states, raiding parties, and nomadic incursions. Archaeological evidence suggests that settlements were often built on elevated terrain or near natural barriers such as cliffs, rocky outcrops, or seasonal rivers, providing natural defensive advantages while simultaneously controlling trade routes and access points. These locations not only safeguarded citizens and resources, but also projected power across the surrounding desert, demonstrating an understanding of both geography and military strategy that rivaled contemporary civilizations in Africa and the Mediterranean. Military organization within the kingdom was likely sophisticated and hierarchical. At the apex were commanders and elite warriors who advised rulers, coordinated defense, and led strategic campaigns. Below them, professional soldiers and conscripted citizens formed the backbone of the army, trained in desert warfare, archery, hand-to-hand combat, and mounted tactics. Cavalry units, possibly riding camels or horses, would have provided mobility across vast expanses of sand, allowing rapid response to threats and enabling long-range patrols along trade routes. Infantry units protected settlements, caravans, and agricultural resources, employing both offensive and defensive tactics that leveraged knowledge of terrain, weather, and seasonal patterns. Weapons discovered in archaeological sites, including spears, shields, arrowheads, and ceremonial swords, suggest proficiency in metallurgy and craftsmanship, with each item reflecting not only functional necessity but also symbolic status, ceremonial significance, and martial prestige. The kingdom's military also incorporated defensive and offensive strategies that were closely tied to its geography. Desert sandstorms, shifting dunes, and seasonal flooding could be harnessed to the army's advantage, providing natural camouflage, surprise, and obstacles to invaders unfamiliar with the terrain. Watchtowers and signal systems, possibly using smoke, fire, or reflective surfaces, allowed for early warning of approaching threats, enabling settlements to mobilize defenses and coordinate reinforcements. Caravan protection was another critical component, with armed escorts ensuring that gold, salt, ivory, and other valuable commodities reached distant markets intact. The protection of trade routes was not merely an economic concern. It reinforced political authority, deterred rivals, and maintained social stability. Every caravan, every garrison, and every fortified settlement represented a calculated investment in security, reflecting a civilization that understood the inseparable link between wealth, survival, and military power. Training and discipline were likely central to the kingdom's military effectiveness. Young men may have been trained from adolescence in the use of weapons, navigation across desert terrain, survival techniques, and tactical coordination. Specialized units such as archers, cavalry, and elite guards may have undergone rigorous preparation to ensure readiness for both internal defense and external campaigns. The combination of physical conditioning, tactical knowledge, and intimate familiarity with the desert environment would have produced soldiers capable of operating effectively in extreme conditions, responding to both sudden raids and sustained conflicts. Military training likely also encompassed ceremonial and symbolic functions, with parades, drills, and martial rituals reinforcing social hierarchy, loyalty, and cultural identity. The army was thus both a functional force and a cultural institution, shaping the society as much as it defended it. The kingdom's defensive architecture was extensive and intricately planned. Settlements were surrounded by walls made of stone, mud brick, or combinations thereof, designed to withstand both siege and environmental erosion. Gates, towers, and bastions were strategically placed to monitor traffic, provide defensive cover, and coordinate troop movements. Interior spaces were often arranged to allow rapid mobilization, with central plazas, barracks, and storage facilities facilitating the deployment of forces. Remote outposts along trade routes served as early warning stations, enabling rapid communication with central authorities and the mobilization of reinforcements.
Fortified granaries, wells, and water storage systems ensured that settlements could endure prolonged sieges or environmental disruptions, reflecting foresight, engineering skill, and logistical planning. The design of these structures was not merely functional, it conveyed authority, deterrence, and the technological sophistication of the kingdom to both citizens and would-be invaders. Military campaigns were likely both defensive and offensive, balancing protection of resources with the expansion of influence. Raiding rival groups, asserting control over trade hubs, and demonstrating power to neighboring kingdoms would have been essential components of strategic governance. Evidence of weapons caches, ceremonial swords, and armor in key sites suggest preparation for both localized conflicts and larger campaigns, while oral traditions and rock art hint at heroic narratives of conquest, defense, and the protection of sacred sites. The military was thus a tool of statecraft, diplomacy, and cultural expression, enabling rulers to project authority, secure economic interests, and shape the kingdom's geopolitical landscape across centuries. The kingdom's military was closely integrated with its social, political, and economic systems. Soldiers were not isolated from society. They were often drawn from the populace, trained in civilian skills, and reintegrated into communities during peacetime. Military service provided social mobility, economic incentives, and cultural prestige, reinforcing loyalty to rulers and cohesion within the kingdom. Trade caravans and military operations were interdependent, with secure routes enabling commerce and military campaigns ensuring the protection of economic interests. Administrative authorities coordinated these efforts, balancing allocation of resources, strategic priorities, and societal needs. This integration of military, political, and economic systems illustrates a civilization capable of complex governance and long-term strategic planning, even in the harsh and unpredictable environment of the Sahara. Naval capabilities, though less documented, may have also played a role in the kingdom's defense and trade strategy. Evidence of riverbeds, oasis lakes, and ancient waterways suggests that boats or rafts could have been employed to transport goods, troops, and messages. Control of water resources not only facilitated commerce, but also reinforced strategic power, enabling rapid movement and the projection of authority across otherwise difficult terrain. This integration of land-based and potential water-based military logistics reflects adaptability, innovation, and the ability to leverage environmental resources to strengthen societal resilience. The psychological and symbolic dimensions of military power were equally important. Fortifications, public displays of weaponry, ceremonial parades, and ritualized combat demonstrations serve to reinforce social hierarchy, intimidate rivals, and instill collective confidence in citizens. The military leaders often held ceremonial and political authority, bridging the gap between force and governance, while heroic narratives of conquest and defense were likely transmitted through oral traditions, rock art, and ritual observances. The army was thus both a functional force and a cultural institution, shaping the society as much as it defended it. As we imagine the kingdom at its peak, one can picture soldiers stationed atop fortified walls, scouts moving across dunes to monitor approaching caravans, elite warriors training in the heat of the sun, and commanders coordinating the movement of troops with precision and foresight. Caravans laden with gold, salt, and ivory traverse the desert under protective escort, while ceremonial displays and ritual observances remind citizens of the intertwined nature of power, culture, and spirituality. These vivid images bring to life a civilization that, though nearly erased from memory, wielded military might, ingenuity, and strategic vision to maintain its wealth, protect its people, and shape the course of African history across centuries.
In the heart of the Sahara, beneath the scorching sun and amidst shifting sands, the forgotten kingdom cultivated a rich tapestry of religion, culture, and daily life that defined the civilization's identity and sustained its people across centuries. Religion was not a peripheral aspect of existence, but the very foundation upon which society was built, influencing governance, trade, agriculture, and personal conduct. Temples, shrines, and ceremonial sites were strategically positioned within urban centers, oasis settlements, and along caravan routes, demonstrating that spiritual life permeated both public and private spheres. These sacred spaces were often aligned with celestial phenomena, revealing a sophisticated understanding of astronomy that guided agricultural cycles, ritual observances, and even navigation across the desert. Priests and spiritual leaders likely held prominent positions within society, acting as advisors to rulers, mediators in disputes, and custodians of cultural memory. Their rituals, sacrifices, and teachings reinforced social cohesion, instilled moral codes, and connected the people to a larger cosmic order, giving meaning to their labor, their trade, and their daily existence. The kingdom's pantheon appears to have been diverse and layered, blending reverence for natural forces, celestial bodies, ancestral spirits, and possibly deities unique to the region. Rock art, petroglyphs, and ceremonial carvings depict human figures in ritual poses, animals in symbolic contexts, and geometric patterns that may have encoded religious, cosmological, or practical knowledge. These images suggest that worship was both public and intimate, encompassing grand ceremonies in temple complexes, as well as private devotion at household altars. Festivals, seasonal rituals, and communal ceremonies likely served multiple functions, celebrating agricultural abundance, marking celestial events, honoring ancestors, and asserting the authority of rulers and priests. Music, dance, and oral storytelling would have accompanied these observances, reinforcing collective memory, transmitting knowledge, and ensuring cultural continuity across generations. Such integration of ritual, education, and social life created a society in which spirituality, culture, and governance were inseparable, providing a moral and cultural framework that guided behavior, decision-making, and communal identity. Art and craftsmanship were central to the kingdom's culture, reflecting both aesthetic sensibility and practical purpose. Artisans produced intricate jewelry, ceremonial masks, pottery, tools, and weapons, often adorned with symbolic motifs that conveyed spiritual, political, or social meaning. The skill displayed in these creations suggests highly specialized labor, training passed through apprenticeships, and a social structure that valued artistic excellence. Art was not merely decorative, it functioned as a medium for communication, social distinction, and ritual significance. Pottery vessels, for example, carried food and water, but also bore designs representing cultural narratives, religious symbols, or clan affiliations. Sculptures and figurines may have represented deities, ancestors, or mythical beings, serving as focal points in ceremonies or as protective talismans in households. The prevalence of such artifacts across settlement sites indicates that art was ubiquitous, shaping both public spaces and private lives, while reinforcing the cultural cohesion that allowed the kingdom to endure despite environmental and political challenges. Daily life within the kingdom was a delicate balance of labor, community, and ceremony. Farmers rose with the sun to cultivate millet, sorghum, and other drought-resistant crops, employing irrigation techniques that maximized the limited water available from rivers, oases, and seasonal rains. Herds of cattle, goats, and sheep were managed not only for food, but as a symbol of wealth, status, and ritual importance. Artisans worked in workshops crafting bronze tools, pottery, textiles, and jewelry, while traders and caravan leaders coordinated the movement of goods across the desert, linking the kingdom to distant markets. Households, often extended families, functioned as units of production, education, and socialization, ensuring that knowledge, skills, and cultural values were transmitted to the next generation. Children learned agricultural practices, trade skills, religious rites, and oral history through observation, participation, and storytelling, growing into adults capable of sustaining both the economy and the culture of their society. Social life was punctuated by communal gatherings, market days, festivals, and ritual ceremonies, creating a rhythm that balanced work, worship, and celebration. The kingdom's social hierarchy was complex but functional.
At the apex were rulers and elite families whose authority was derived from both political control and spiritual legitimacy. These individuals presided over administrative structures, commanded military forces, and maintained ceremonial traditions that reinforced their status. Beneath them, a class of skilled artisans, traders, scribes, and spiritual leaders contributed to the economic, cultural, and intellectual vitality of the kingdom. Farmers, herders, and laborers formed the backbone of society, sustaining the population and ensuring the continuity of agricultural and resource production. Despite hierarchical distinctions, social cohesion was reinforced through communal participation in festivals, ceremonies, and collective labor, creating a sense of shared purpose and identity that transcended individual roles. This balance between hierarchy and community was a defining feature of the kingdom, allowing it to maintain stability, productivity, and cultural continuity across generations. Education and knowledge transmission were deeply embedded in daily life and religious practice. Oral traditions, storytelling, and apprenticeship provided the primary means of passing down practical skills, historical narratives, and spiritual teachings. Rock art, symbolic carvings, and ceremonial artifacts functioned as mnemonic devices, reinforcing collective memory and guiding societal norms. Knowledge of astronomy, agriculture, and metallurgy was preserved through both practice and ritual, ensuring that essential skills were maintained and transmitted despite environmental challenges. Religious leaders and elders played a central role in this educational system, mediating between tradition and innovation, providing guidance and ensuring that the cultural identity of the kingdom remained intact. This integration of knowledge, spirituality, and daily labor created a society in which spirituality, culture, and social cohesion were inseparable. Religion and culture also influenced the kingdom's approach to death and the afterlife. Burial practices, tomb constructions, and grave goods indicated a belief system that extended beyond the material world. Elite individuals were often interred with jewelry, weapons, and ceremonial objects, reflecting both social status and the expectation of continuity in the afterlife. Common citizens' burials, while simpler, still contained symbolic items, suggesting that notions of spiritual continuity and ancestral veneration were widespread across social strata. Funerary practices reinforced social hierarchies, cultural norms, and spiritual beliefs, creating continuity between the living and the dead, while also providing opportunities for communal participation, ritual observance, and the reaffirmation of social cohesion. Trade, religion, and culture were intertwined in ways that reinforced the kingdom's identity and resilience. Marketplaces were venues not only for commerce, but also for cultural exchange, storytelling, and the display of craftsmanship. Festivals and ceremonies integrated agricultural cycles, celestial events, and economic milestones, creating a rhythm that structured social life and connected citizens to the kingdom's political and spiritual centers. Art, music, and oral traditions reinforced collective memory, transmitted knowledge, and celebrated the achievements of rulers and ancestors. In these ways, daily life was imbued with meaning, and culture functioned as both a unifying force and a source of resilience, enabling the kingdom to endure environmental fluctuations, economic pressures, and external threats. The kingdom's culture was also adaptive, absorbing influences from neighboring regions while maintaining distinctive practices. Contact with Egypt, Nubia, and sub-Saharan societies brought new ideas, technologies, and artistic motifs, which were incorporated into local traditions. This selective integration enriched cultural expression, strengthened trade relations, and enhanced political legitimacy. At the same time, the kingdom maintained core beliefs, rituals, and artistic styles that distinguished it from surrounding civilizations, preserving a unique identity even as it engaged in broader networks of exchange and diplomacy. Such adaptability was critical for survival, allowing the kingdom to thrive for centuries despite environmental and political challenges. Through religion, culture, and daily life, the forgotten kingdom beneath the Sahara achieved a remarkable synthesis of stability, creativity, and identity. It created a society in which spirituality, governance, economy, and artistry were interwoven, producing a civilization that was both resilient and dynamic. The evidence left behind.
The decline of the lost kingdom beneath the Sahara was not a single dramatic collapse, but a long, complex process shaped by environmental change, shifting trade routes, political fragmentation, and the slow erosion of systems that had once sustained prosperity and power. For centuries, the kingdom had thrived by mastering the delicate balance between desert and life, trade and security, spirituality and governance. But nature, indifferent to human ambition, began to change the rules. Climatic shifts gradually altered rainfall patterns across the Sahara and its surrounding regions, causing rivers to dry, lakes to shrink, and once fertile lands to turn to dust. The ancient waterways that had sustained agriculture, supported settlements, and guided caravan routes slowly vanished, forcing communities to migrate or adapt to increasingly harsh conditions. As water sources dwindled, competition intensified, not only among local communities, but also between the kingdom and neighboring powers who sought control over remaining oases and trade corridors. The desert, once a partner mastered through ingenuity, became an adversary that tested the limits of resilience. At the same time, the global trade networks that had fueled the kingdom's wealth began to shift. New routes emerged to the east and west, bypassing traditional caravan paths that had once brought gold, salt, ivory, and exotic goods through the kingdom's heartlands. Maritime trade along coastlines became increasingly dominant, reducing dependence on long and dangerous desert crossings. As caravans dwindled, markets grew quieter, tax revenues declined, and the economic foundation of the kingdom weakened. The ruling elite, whose authority depended heavily on controlling commerce, found their power increasingly challenged. Without the steady flow of wealth, maintaining armies, fortifications, and public works became more difficult. Infrastructure fell into disrepair, outposts were abandoned, and once thriving settlements shrank or disappeared entirely beneath encroaching sands. What had once been a network of vibrant hubs slowly fragmented into isolated communities struggling for survival. Political unity, already strained by environmental and economic pressures, began to fracture. Local leaders asserted greater autonomy as central authority weakened, leading to internal rivalries and conflicts that further destabilized the kingdom. Disputes over resources, water, grazing land, trade access escalated into skirmishes and prolonged feuds. The military, once a unifying force, became stretched thin, tasked with defending shrinking borders while also managing internal unrest. As trust in centralized leadership eroded, communities increasingly relied on local structures, tribal affiliations, familial networks, and spiritual leaders for security and guidance. This decentralization, while offering short-term resilience, undermined the cohesion necessary to sustain a large, complex civilization. The kingdom did not fall in flames and conquest alone. It unraveled quietly, its authority dissolving piece by piece under the weight of circumstances beyond any single ruler's control. Cultural transformation accompanied this decline. As trade connections weakened, the flow of ideas, technologies, and artistic influences slowed. Workshops closed, specialized craftsmanship declined, and monumental construction ceased. Religious practices evolved as communities adapted to new realities, emphasizing survival, migration, and ancestral protection over grand state-sponsored ceremonies. Oral traditions preserved memories of former glory, transforming history into legend. Songs, stories, and rituals spoke of prosperous cities now buried, of rulers blessed by the gods, of caravans stretching beyond the horizon. These narratives, passed down through generations, became the final repositories of the kingdom's identity, even as its physical structures crumbled. The loss of centralized institutions meant that written records, if they existed, were no longer maintained, accelerating the kingdom's disappearance from historical memory. Migration became a defining feature of the final centuries. As environmental conditions worsened and economic opportunities declined, populations moved southward, eastward, and westward,
carrying fragments of culture, language, and belief into new regions. These migrating groups did not vanish, they became part of other societies, influencing emerging kingdoms and shaping the cultural landscape of Africa in subtle but lasting ways. Architectural styles, agricultural techniques, spiritual symbols, and social customs persisted long after the original kingdom had faded. In this way, collapse did not mean annihilation, it meant transformation. The kingdom lived on through its people, its ideas, and its genetic legacy, woven into the fabric of later civilizations that rose across the Sahel and beyond. Archaeological silence deepened as centuries passed. Wind-driven sand buried cities, walls, and temples, erasing visible traces of urban life. Seasonal floods reshaped landscapes, depositing layers of sediment over abandoned settlements. What remained visible, rock art, scattered artifacts, eroded foundations, became disconnected from their original context. Without written chronicles preserved in major historical centers, the kingdom slipped from the narratives of classical historians. Greek, Roman, and later Arab scholars recorded fragments of African trade and distant lands, but lacked direct knowledge of this civilization's full scope. Over time, myth replaced memory, and the kingdom became a shadow, hinted at in legends of lost cities and golden lands, but never fully acknowledged by mainstream history. The final disappearance of the kingdom was therefore not a moment, but an era, a slow fading rather than a sudden end. No single invasion, no definitive battle marked its conclusion. Instead, environmental stress, economic realignment, political fragmentation, and cultural transformation converged to dismantle the systems that had once sustained greatness. The desert reclaimed what humans had built, not through violence alone, but through patience and inevitability. Walls collapsed, roads vanished, wells dried, and cities were swallowed by sand. What remained were echoes, stories whispered by descendants, symbols carved into stone, and artifacts waiting beneath the surface for rediscovery. Yet this decline also reveals a profound truth about human civilizations. Greatness is not measured solely by endurance, but by influence. The kingdom's legacy endured long after its physical form disappeared, shaping trade networks, cultural traditions, and political models across Africa. Its mastery of desert trade, resource management, and social organization influenced later empires that would rise along the Sahel, including Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. The techniques developed to survive in harsh environments, the spiritual frameworks that bound communities together, and the economic strategies that connected distant regions did not vanish. They evolved, adapted, and re-emerged in new forms. In this sense, the kingdom beneath the Sahara was not lost, it was transformed, its essence absorbed into the civilizations that followed. As the last great settlements were abandoned and the desert closed over stone and earth, the world moved on, unaware of what had been buried. Generations passed without knowledge of the cities beneath their feet, the trade routes beneath the dunes, the temples aligned to forgotten stars. Time erased names, faces, and events, leaving only silence. But silence is not emptiness. Beneath the Sahara, layers of history remained intact, protected by the very sand that erased them from sight. The kingdom waited, not in ruins alone, but in memory, myth, and the unanswered questions of history.